The Terps will win big against UConn.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast with zero sugar and convenient portable size. It's a perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on the order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. I think that the Maryland Terrapins are going to win big over the UConn Huskies. I think we're going to outmatch them. And I think the Terps are going in a little bit underrated going into this year. I think Coach Locksley thinks he has a really good team. He thinks he's really solid in a lot of different spots on his football team. But I think some people think this game might be closer than what actual Terps players and people inside that building really think it's going to be. And I think it's going to be. I think the Terps crush the UConn Huskies. I think it's going to be a lot to a little. And the interesting part about it, if you go back and look at UConn scores in the past couple of years, in the past years against some Power 4 schools, I always want to say Power 5, but I guess it's Power 4 school with no more Pac-12. Still sounds kind of weird, but against Power 4 schools, they're interesting. They're up and down. Against Tennessee last year, they got crushed 59-3, but they kept it close against Boston College 21-14. I would consider that a really close game. They played teams like Duke last year, got crushed 41-7, but against NC State in the first game of the year last year on August 31st, it was 24-14 against an NC State team that finished 31st in the country. So they're an interesting team against Power 5 opponents. They can be definitely a little bit weird. 2 years ago, they actually beat Boston College 13-3, if you can believe that. But then they got crushed 2 years ago against Syracuse, 48-14, got crushed against Houston, got crushed against Clemson. So they're an interesting type of team. But in 2021, they only lost to Vanderbilt by 2. So they're a team that if you're not careful with, it can be a lot closer than you want it to be. But if you go into the game the right way, if you go into the game with the right strategy, if you go into the game and you really are focused and we're not thinking a week ahead, we're not thinking to the Michigan State game, we're not thinking about Michigan State, they're not in our heads, then the game should go the right way. We should beat the UConn Huskies by a lot. And I think that Maryland football is going to start the year off right. I think we're focused because one thing, I love our leadership this year. I think our leaders are top notch this year, and I think we're ready to go. I think we're focused on the opponent. And what I saw last year from the Terps at the start of the year under Coach Locksley was a really good start. If you remember, week 1, we played Towson, and we started off really well against Towson with a 6-38 type of win. So I feel pretty good about the Terps beating UConn, and then we went to Charlotte, or we played Charlotte the next week and won 38-20. We beat Virginia 42-14 in the first 3 weeks of the season. Michigan State in week 4, 31-9 in 2023. So I think Coach Locksley has a good, solid recipe for starting the year off on the right note. I think he has a pretty good idea how to start off pretty fast. Even if you go back to 2022, we beat Buffalo 31-10 under Coach Locksley. So I think Coach Locksley figured out how to beat these teams. And so he's the biggest reason why I feel good about us beating UConn pretty big. I don't think we'll have one of those BC type of things where we lose to them somehow. Like, I don't think an upset is happening. I think we win the game big. And then I've said it over the last couple of podcasts, I think our defense dominates. the way our defensive line is, I don't think they can run the ball on us, and that's going to force them into third and longs. But the thing is, I don't think they can pass against us either. I don't know how UConn's going to move the ball. I just don't see it because I think our defensive line is going to crush their offensive line, which is going to be maybe the most important battle of the game is the trenches, I would say, for this game. Because usually when you look at a team like UConn, that's the biggest difference I've been saying between a team like UConn and a team like Maryland. It's in the trenches. And I think that the Terps are honestly going to push UConn back. They're going to, their quarterback's not going to be able to be comfortable. They're not going to do a whole lot on offense. I expect us to really shut them out. Maybe they have a touchdown. Maybe they have 3. I don't know. But I don't think they move the ball. I just don't. I think with our defensive line, our linebacker room, our safety room, I can't see them moving the ball. So I think the Maryland Terrapins are going to win big because I don't think UConn is going to score. I just don't see them scoring very much. And I think that's a part of our team that we feel really good about as Terrapins fans. I think Coach Loxley talked about it. He said this is a defensive-led team, and when you play a team like UConn that's less talented and is not going to have the same personnel, it's going to be really hard for them. And it's hard for you to keep the game close if they can't score. Could it be a slugfest? Honestly, I could see it. I think that's kind of the path of victory for UConn, is for it to be a little bit of a defensive battles. Maryland's new quarterback's going to struggle. But I think here's the thing about the quarterback play, and I know a lot of you guys are interested about that in this first game. We won't need the quarterback to win this game big. I just don't think we'll need it. I think it'll be the defense and the run game. That's how I see it. Ease whoever the starter is in. He doesn't have to make a big time throws. He doesn't have to make any Superman. He doesn't have to be Mahomes or Josh Allen or Caleb Williams in college. He doesn't have to be like that. He's got to be a game manager in this first game against UConn. Later on the season, he might have to make a big throw against Michigan State for us to win? Yeah, in week 2. Later down when we play Oregon to keep it close, he might have to put up a good throw or two against an Oregon-led team in Eugene? Yeah, but week 1 against UConn, for the Terps to win big, I don't feel like I need the quarterback play to be there. I just don't feel like that. So I think it's interesting, but I do think that the Terps have a really good shot at crushing the UConn Huskies, and I think that they're going to run. I think Maryland's going to run the ball all over UConn. I don't think UConn can stop us running the football. Like I said, up front, we're so powerful compared to a team like UConn that I don't see them being able to stop us on our offensive line. I think we push them back. We just give it to Nolan Ray. We give it to Roman Hemby, and we let them cook in Colby McDonald. We let the running back cook. And if we need to get our receivers involved, we have 2 of the best in the Big Ten if we need it to win this game. So I think the Terps win big. I'll talk about the exact score in the last segment, so make sure you stick around for that. But I don't see UConn keeping this game close. I just don't. And there has been evidence, like I've said, they've kept it close for the past couple of years against some teams, which is interesting. So you can't overlook them. Like I said, 2021, 28-30 against UConn. They've had some close games. Even Fresno State in 2022 ended the year ranked 24th in the country. UConn had actually beaten them. The NC State only won by 10. They finished the year 21st in the country. Like, they have close games. So it's not like I'm talking about we're going to crush UConn. That's expected. Like, no, like, they can keep this game close, but I think I like the Terps to win this game big. I think that they just aren't going to be able to score on us. And when you can't score, it's going to be really hard to beat a team. So I feel pretty good about Maryland beating us big. Maryland beating UConn big. Even though I feel good about that, I do think there's a real possibility that the offense kind of is sluggish and could struggle for the Terps. I'll talk about that after this ad from Factor and this ad from eBay Motors. Warmer, sunnier days are on their way, and Factor's got you back for them. Get ready to soak up the sun with our easy, no-fuss meals that take just minutes to prepare. With options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto, our chef-crafted meals help you fit your wellness goals before summer hits. They're fresh, never frozen, and dietitian approved, so you can enjoy nutritious and delicious meals even on your busiest days. Today's a perfect day to start a healthier routine, so why wait? Dive in now. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this May with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You always find exactly what you're looking for, and with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. I think it's completely reasonable that the Terps offense could struggle on Saturday. Don't be surprised if it comes out a little stagnant, if it's a little bit slow, if it's not kind of what we want, if they're not moving the chains as much, if the first half they haven't scored very many points and it's a icky, mooky defensive type of game. If it's that type of game and it's some real Big Ten type of football, which I think Maryland this year will play more Big Ten style of football. When I think of Big Ten style of football, I think of run the football, play good defense, special teams, those types of things. I think it's entirely possible that Maryland could play like that, and that the Terps will play Big Ten style of football, run the football, pound the mouth, play good defense. But I think in this first game against UConn, there's a real possibility that the offense doesn't look great. I think there's a couple different reasons why. I think number one, biggest reason why is the quarterback room. That's the easy escape for it. If the offense doesn't look good, there's some easy kind of excuses for it and stuff that's reasonable to say. When you look at it, think about the Maryland quarterback room. 3 guys that we like, we're probably not in love with any of them. And so is there going to be whoever starts, could they struggle just because they haven't got enough reps, because they haven't had enough time in practice to be with the ones? I think so. Sometimes when you come off these quarterback battles, like let's say Billy Edwards is the starter in week 1. He's been splitting the first team reps with MJ Morris, maybe even some with Cameron Edge. It's like, oh, I haven't had enough reps as I probably need to feel good about myself, or, oh, I'm not ready yet, or whatever the case is for Billy Edwards. And then as well as if Billy Edwards is a starter, he hasn't played a lot. Like, he hasn't had a lot of game reps, so him not having all the first team reps is something that actually really matters. Like, if we had Talia in this game, and let's say Talia wasn't getting all the first team reps, or Talia had a summer where he was kind of injured a little bit, we still would feel okay about the Maryland Terrapins. We would still feel all right about the Maryland Terrapins because we know Talia has played in a lot of football games. Billy Edwards doesn't have a lot of experience. Neither does Cameron Edge. And then MJ Morris, yeah, he has some game experience, but he doesn't have experience in the Maryland system. So when you just look at the quarterback play, I think you reasonably could say the quarterback play might struggle a little bit. I think that's entirely a possibility. Is that something that I want to happen? No. Is that something that I think will happen? Yeah, I think it could be entirely possible. Even against a team like UConn, even if they're not the most talented team in the country, sometimes it just might not click right away. And is it maybe more likely that it happens against Michigan State week 2? Probably. But I can almost guarantee there's going to be a game in the first couple of weeks where we look at the quarterback play and we might question it. I think that's just being realistic. I like to be realistic with you guys. We have to remember, we don't have some proven guy back there. So when you don't have a proven guy back there that can lead the offense that you feel really good about, then it's reasonable to think that the offense could struggle a little bit for the Maryland Terrapins, that it might not look as good as you want it to look or that you think it's going to look for the Terrapins. And I think that's something that could happen. And that could lead us to not exploiting UConn in the receiving game and not getting our receivers open and not allowing them to separate and for them to take the next level. UConn might stack the box against us because we're not really passing the ball well. We're not stretching it down the field. We're not creating enough big plays in the passing game. And they got a lot of guys in the box. And even though they really can't stop our run game, they're able to slow it down a little bit because we just haven't been able to take the top off the defense. We haven't been able to make consistent throws. I can see a world where that happens, where UConn sells out to stop the run and they make us make throws for the quarterback. If that's Billy Edwards starting, I think that's the game plan going in. If that's MJ Morris starting, I still think that's the game plan. If it's Cameron Edge starting, it's probably still the game plan. And I think that's going to be the game plan for a lot of teams. Force the Maryland quarterback to make throws. I think that's entirely a possibility for the Terps. Force the quarterback to make throws. And so I think it's reasonable to think that the offense could struggle a little bit. It might not look awesome right away. There might be some things here or there where like, I don't know. It just doesn't look great right away. And I think that's possible, especially if UConn stops our rushing game. And then I think our offensive line is going to have a really good day. But look, we got 5 new starters. It could take a little bit to mold. It just could. And so I think when you pair the offensive line and the quarterback play, that we're just not sure about. And that's two of the biggest parts of your offense, to be completely honest. You look at the quarterbacks and you look at the offensive line. And those 2 spots we're not sure about, it might take a little bit for it to mesh. I'm not saying it won't come together. It might take a quarter, might take a half, might take a drive, but I think it'll take a second to get it on the right track for the Terps. So I do think that the offense could struggle a little bit for the Maryland Terrapins. The Terps will cover the spread against UConn. I'll talk about that after this ad from 5 Hour Energy. Tired after lunch? You're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit a wall after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. Want to get in shape but you're having trouble staying motivated? Make a 5-hour energy shot part of your lifestyle and get the energy boost you need to get fit. We all know you sometimes do not want to go to the gym. Take a 5-hour energy shot to give you the feeling and alertness so you can get to the gym. With 0 sugar and convenient portable size, it's a perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. And there is a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you can even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavor and it's delivered right to your door. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy products today, you can use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, so go to 5hourenergy.com today. So I think the Maryland, let's talk about some of the lines for the game. I think Maryland covers, and I think the game goes under, though. So I don't know. I don't bet or anything, but I do think it's fun to talk about, and I think it's fun to talk about the lines. But I think Maryland Terrapins, I think they will go. I think they will cover the spread. I feel pretty good about them covering the spread against UConn. So I'm looking at the spread. It's at 20 points right now, and here's how I see the game going. I see Maryland's offense not doing anything crazy, putting up like 28, which sounds like a solid game, but nothing special. But when you think against a team like UConn, you would think Maryland probably goes off. I see a 28-7 ball game. The over-under is at about 44. So I think that the Terps will end up going under that total, or the game will go under the total, but I do think Maryland will cover. Here's my thinking. I see UConn only scoring once. I talked about it. Maryland's defense is going to allow them to crush UConn. I don't think they'll stick with us. I don't know if you consider 28-7 really a crush, but still, I think that it'll be hard for their defense to be able to, or their offense, to get stops on us. I just think that the Terps are really good on defense this year. I've talked about it. I think they can have a top 25 unit in the country. And so I see UConn maybe getting 7, but it also could be like 28-3. Like, it's going to be really hard for UConn to beat the Maryland Terrapins, and I don't really see it. But here's my thing. I think you give them 3 or 7. Maryland's going to be playing a lot of different guys. They're going to be spreading it out. A lot of different people are going to play for the Terrapins, so you can't feel awesome about some of the freshmen going out there and stopping them. But, I still feel good about it. I still think it's a talented type of bunch, so I do still feel good about them covering that spread. But I think that the 20.5, I think it's a good number, but I do think Maryland wins by that. UConn, usually either they keep it close or they kind of just get walked on. And so I see that. I think the quarterback play is going to be good enough for them to cover. I do. I don't think it's going to be amazing to start. I just see it being struggling. I think all 3 guys could play. And so when I kind of look at the spread and when I attack it, I'm like, okay, 3 quarterbacks could potentially play. They could be playing a lot of different guys. I don't know if Maryland's going to score a lot, if the quarterback play is going to be awesome, but I think the quarterback play will be enough. There'll be some plays down the field, but it'll be a lot of Roman Hemby, a lot of Cody McDonald, a lot of Nolan Ray. And I think the offensive line will be good at run blocking and will create lanes, and that'll look really good for the Terps. But I do think that that'll make the game go under. I think it's a faster game because I think that Maryland's going to run the ball more, and so that's going to make the clock tick. When you run the ball a lot, it makes the clock tick, as well as the Terps aren't going to just throw the ball over the place. So I do think that the game goes under as well. So that's kind of my picks for the Maryland game. I do think they cover against UConn, and I do think that the game will go under the total. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.